There have been so many different generations of Pokémon, and they've all managed to shake up the formula in some cool or unique way. Except these, we don't need to talk about those games. On the DS, they released Diamond and Pearl, which are, funny enough, still the best way to play that generation.
What is that?
They were a step up from the GBA games in terms of graphics, animations, and the addition of the second screen, which would let you count the steps you could be taking in the real world if you weren't a Pokémon fan. All of which was built on in the Gold and Silver remasters, and then again in Black and White, with Black and White 1 and 2 really making that hamster in the DS's motherboard run an overdrive.
Jerry, help me! Come here and help him right now, he's hanging himself!
Black and White 2 were a unique case because normally the extra edition of Pokemon would just be like a slightly improved version of the initial launch, but with these they reused the same engine and even some locations to make a completely new story with new characters, and ended up being some of the most highly praised Pokemon games in the entire series. Well, I didn't say I praised them highly. The thing with Black and White 2 though is that we were all expecting a 3DS Pokemon game considering the console had literally just come out.
He's fucking dead!
Nah, Game Freak stuck to what they knew, and we got another pixel game for the DS, which, looking at how they handled the simple task of moving from flip phone to smartphone, it was probably a smart choice. When Pokemon did finally move to 3D,
There's blood in the box! There's blood inside this box!
it was a massive leap, which led to these games feeling a little bit rushed and easy. They did add a bunch of stuff to make up for that though, like a whole new type, the addition of special gimmicks in the form of Mega Evolution, which people still don't shut up about, and PSS, which let you do battles and trades with your mates, and completely random people. Oh look, this person wants to give me a Snorlax, and all they need is my street address? After they released Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in 2014, everyone was giggling at the Wii U and patiently expecting the Black and White of this generation. And in 2016, we were blessed with the greatest Pokemon games to ever grace our eyes. Which isn't a high bar to be fair, but still. Dude, this is the best rotten apple core I've ever seen. When Sun and Moon were revealed, I started jumping up and down and screeching like a chimp because they looked really good. Going from this weird 3D version of the Pixel games, which is a pretty good evolution, don't get me wrong, but compared to this, it's like comparing A Link to the Past to Delta, and it just like, there's no competition. The characters stopped looking like jelly babies, and the world was less like a chessboard, and instead was way freer in the way you moved around it. And you don't have to use those shitty skates from X and Y to actually use your circle pad. Sun and Moon were the Black and White of their generation, so similar to Black and White, they pushed the hamster's power in the CPU to their absolute limit, and it makes the game some of the most impressive that's ever been seen from Pokemon ever.
Wow!
Even with the occasional hiccups and double battles. This game looks incredible! Hawaii was a really good choice for this game because it's the closest any of us will get to Hawaii without the residents throwing bricks at our heads. The inspiration it takes from Hawaii is far more on the nose than with other regions, with the entire region being split into 4 islands to make it really distinct from like the single city in Kalos that vaguely resembles Paris, just without the slur-slinging slashers around every corner. Oh? I wonder how authentic French bread tastes. Hawaii also gave them an excuse to make a brand new series staple in the form of regional forms. They used the environment and food as an excuse to make Gen 1 Pokemon actually good this time and give them some updated designs, since the philosophy for designing Pokemon has changed drastically over the years. They put Exeggutor into Photoshop and stretched him up, which led to some really corny videos being made, but it was 2016. Now that I think of it, there were a lot of really unfunny jokes because of Alola, like Yungoos. Yungoos and Rattata are really cool opposites because Yungoos is supposed to be like the people who sent invasive species into Hawaii and burnt their whole ecosystem to the ground, and Rattata is supposed to be like the native species being pushed into hiding because of the invasives. And I really like how they made Raichu relevant in these games by giving him a new form, a custom ability, and a Z-move. And then they gave Pikachu 2 Z-moves and a hat, so fuck me I guess. The Z-moves were a cool gimmick. You pop a crystal, do a little dance, and then your Pokemon stiffens up and flies towards the opponent like a fighter jet. I do understand what they were going for with this. They wanted something that looked cool, but they didn't want to limit it to certain Pokemon, but this ended up working against it because that meant they couldn't actually make animations for every Pokemon, so a lot of the moves look really cheap. But the dances are really cool though. Pikachu. Thunderbolt? The best part of the Z-moves are, funny enough, the Pokemon specific ones. They gave some Pokemon dedicated animations and they look really good. Like the Pikachu ones, just look at the little dance they do. The Z-moves were sort of solidifying that they're going to start adding more unique gimmicks in the future, which is always a good thing. Helps add a bit more variety between each game than just Pikachu ain't in this one. Now, Festival Plaza. Why? Why did they replace PSS? I'll never understand. It was a good system for trading and battling because you could easily just find a list of people around the world to do stuff with, and for some reason there was an option to call with your mates. I don't know, Festival Plaza in comparison just feels really over-designed. I much prefer just being able to use the bottom screen for the social menu. Also, you just get randomly thrown into the Festival Plaza tutorial when you're nearly at the end of the second island, it's just obnoxious and stupid, especially after the notorious slog of a tutorial at the beginning of the games. Oh boy, I can't wait to start this adventure. Surely I won't be stuck in the same 2 routes for the next 3 hours. They added a new mechanic, sort of, in this game. The friendship meter was in other games, but it only affected Eevee evolutions and the baby evolutions. In Gen 7, they added Pokemon Refresh that lets you pet your guys and feed them jelly beans, which you get from buying Starbucks in the Pokemon Center, and Pokepelago, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a fun little island that lets you do a bunch of different things. You can shake a beanstalk for jelly beans, send your Pokemon to do manual labor, or train them for EVs. Oh yeah, the friendship. As it grows, they get more bonuses, like a chance to dodge attacks, withstand a finishing blow, and even shake off some status conditions. And I like this. It's like a pseudo-easy mode that's completely optional since these games are a bit more difficult than past titles. Oh yeah, I should also talk about the difficulty, but before that, let me explain the major way this game differs from past titles, even beyond the difficulty. They just completely remove gyms.
Yeah, bitch!
This is probably my favourite part of these games, to be honest. Instead of gyms, they replaced them with trials, which I want to say was probably to celebrate the 20th anniversary by mixing up the formula, which I can appreciate. The trials are pretty drastically different to gyms. You do a little mini-game / challenge where you have to kickbox some Pokemon, and it gives you the opportunity to challenge one big, powerful totem Pokemon. They're literally big.
Oh fuck!
But that's not the only difference. They're also EV trained and have a stat boost that depends on which trial you're doing, on top of being able to call in a support Pokemon, which can heal them or focus on attacking and putting statuses on your Pokemon. It's way more difficult to deal with than, say, just walking into Flannery's gym with a Mudkip and spamming Water Gun. It's not just totem Pokemon that are EV trained though, it's every important trainer battle too, like How or Gladion, and it's a really cool way to add a bit of extra difficulty to the game. The little challenges you have to do to get to the totem Pokemon are kinda shit though, I'm not gonna lie. Most of them are the most brainless puzzles.
The square.
That's right, it goes in the square hole.
Yes.
Except for the fairy trial where Mina literally just finds you on a bridge and hands you the Z crystal. You don't even have to fight a totem. Luckily they did change that one in the Ultra game, so you do have to fight her, and then you go and collect petals from each trial captain and then lure in a massive Pokemon and beat it to death with sticks. Apparently the reason the trials are all kinda bad is because they were made right at the end of development, and so they had to be super simple, which doesn't surprise me. The words Game Freak and Sweatshop are basically synonymous at this point. The story of these games are actually pretty good as far as Pokemon stories go. You play as this little guy going on their island challenge while following Lily, the real protagonist, as she gains enough confidence to do stuff herself. Lily ran from her psychotic mum, Lucamine, because she was doing evil little experiments on this wee ball of smoke in an attempt to summon Ultra Beasts. The whole concept of this story is that there's a world outside of the Pokemon one which is filled with eldritch beasts, and when Lucamine took a peek into it, she went crazy and became obsessed, leading to her dressing her kids up like a certain Ultra Beast and neglecting them if they didn't do everything she said. So in retaliation, both of them stole Pokemon that she'd been experimenting on and ran away, with Gladion going to Team Skull and Lily washing up on the beach next to Professor Kukui's house. The story in this is way more self-contained than the other Pokemon games. Instead of putting the whole world or even the whole region at risk, Lucamine literally just wants to go and live in Ultra Space with her posse of jellyfish. And we have to work with Lily to save her. Lily and Nebby spend the whole game together protecting each other and being protected by the main character, but when Nebby is kidnapped by Team Skull and brought to Aether Paradise, Lily decides to become more self-sufficient so she doesn't have to be constantly protected, which they really did try to show by her going with you to Executor Island, walking all by herself through Pony Canyon, and then even going with you through the wormhole to save her mum. The climax of the story is such a good way to end Lily's character arc. You meet Lucamine and Guzma in Ultra Space, and Guzma warns you about the weird jellyfish messing with his head, which you then get to see firsthand when Lucamine fuses with a Nihilego, I think, and makes you battle her. Once you throw enough of your guys at her, she starts tweaking out and Lily sends the now evolved Nabby to finish her off, which is a nice way to symbolise her and Nabby both becoming more self-sufficient and moving on from whatever Lucamine was doing to them. Lily also acts like a real worried mother when she decides to say goodbye to Nabby and keeps running back to tell the main character how to take care of it. To conclude her story, she decides to move away to Kanto to get her mum professional help and to become a real Pokemon trainer while she's there. Also, I need to talk about the credits for the moment because the credits are really cool. They have a ton of illustrations depicting all of the different characters and Pokemon you've met in your journey, with the final image being Lily and Nabby saying goodbye, while a letter from Lily plays, and a final shot of an open package with all of those photos from before, and the letter Lily sent, and the Island Challenge amulet sat on the main character's desk. It's a really bittersweet ending, and I just like it a lot. It's far better than the Ultra games. I like How's arrival too, but in Base Sun and Moon he's not too special. Where he really shines is in the Ultra games, at the expense of the entire rest of the story. He's really joyous and whimsical, but starts to worry about the expectations he has as Kahuna Hala's grandson, which is the focus of his arc through the Ultra games. I get that it's not the most jaw-dropping character arc, but it's Pokemon, we aren't expecting them to write some Shadow the Hedgehog-ass story for a character. I just can't believe it. The Ultra games get a lot of shit, some of it undeserving, but it did fuck up the story a whole lot. Most notably, they got rid of a lot of Lily's character development near the end of the game to coincide with the final villain changing from Lucamine to Necrozma. So instead of Lily slowly building up her confidence by going to Executor Island with the main character, she just doesn't go, because apparently she's still too weak. And then Necrozma cucks her from getting the final hit against Lucamine because they just removed the whole Lucamine boss fight and replaced the entire thing with Necrozma. She doesn't even go with the main character to defeat Necrozma, she stays behind because she's still not a trainer. Maybe it was for the best. She doesn't even give Nabby to you in the same sweet way. Instead of Nabby asking her to let it go on an adventure like in Sun and Moon, she just meets you on the bridge you first met at and says, "Take it, I don't want it anymore," and there's just not any build up at all. She also doesn't leave for Kanto to help her mum heal while also learning to be a trainer. She just stays in Alola and starts being a trainer in the post game, with Gladion leaving for Kanto instead, which means the entire bittersweet ending the original had with the photo reel and the little message Lily sent the MC was just completely gone. They replace it all with these dumb little chibi sprites of the Pokemon dancing, which is cool, but I don't want to watch this fat rat dance. I want to cry at cute pictures on my 3DS. It's so beautiful. They made Lucamine way less of an obsessive psychopath and just more of a slightly neglectful mum who wants to protect Alola from getting its light stolen, which makes the story so much more homogenous with every other Pokemon story. Most of the other changes in the Ultras are just quality of life stuff or pretty trivial, with a few actually cool things sprinkled in. There's better UI, Roto Lotto to scratch that gambling itch, better Pokemon variety, you actually get to fight your rival as the champion fight, which is so much more hype than Kukui, and there's 2 new minigames to name a few things. Mantine Surfing is a fun way to get BP, and if you get the high score on every course, you get a Pikachu that knows Surf. The other new minigame is the Ultra Wormhole rides that let you find different Ultra Beasts, Pokemon that usually aren't even in Alola, and legendaries sometimes. Oh yeah, before I finish, there is actually an end game to the Ultras. I mean, there sorta was in the original games, but it was just fighting a couple of Ultra Beasts and then going to the battle tree to get Mega Evolution. The Ultras added a huge new section where you get to fight a ton of past evil teams and bosses, with Team Rainbow Rocket being the main antagonist of it. And at the end of that, after you beat all the bosses, you receive $1 bajillion. Zygarde's also sitting in a cave somewhere which you can catch, as well as everything else available in Base Sun and Moon. So, if you're looking for a fun and unique Pokemon game, you should play these. The story's better in Base Sun and Moon, so if you're the rare Pokemon fan who likes to read, play them, but if you just care about catching your little guys and want the most content, play the Ultra games. You know, I wish we didn't have to compromise either story or gameplay by having 2 separate versions. If only there was a Pokemon game that had it all in one neat package. I take it back.